Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are back again. I told you guys, me and Ant were gonna come back for something, and we're back for Kenobi. What's going on, Ant?
Not much. Just drinking in all this Star Warsness. This Star Wars weekend. We got trailers dropping. We got new shows being announced, and now what
Right,
do we?
a lot of new information. Was it
A
like
lot of new
Tales of the
information.
Jedi that's gonna have like a younger Count Dooku,
Yeah,
a younger Qui-Gon that Liam Neeson's gonna be reprising his role in?
yeah,
Yeah. Matter of fact, they announced also. You were talking about this the last time about Rebels, how certain characters in Rebels are going to show up in Ahsoka series. A
yeah.
couple of them
And
I don't know who they are, but it sounds significant to a lot of people.
you might have to binge this the 4 seasons or whatever, man. You might have to
Oh
get it in. I,
God.
I teased him a little bit with some of the best scenes when he was about a certain subject, and I was like, "Look, check this out, check this out." No context, no context, no explanation. Just check it out.
He didn't give me nothing to go off of, and honestly, that's part of the reason why I was like, you know what, I gotta bring in, we gotta do this Obi-Wan show. So, okay, so real quick, what was when you saw the first trailer of this? Were you excited or were you kind of like scared or a bit of both?
Bit of both. So for us old folks that all we had was novels and comics to go on, this area has been like mythos, right? So
Right.
we this time of Kenobi's, even some stuff they brought in the Rebels with Darth Maul during this time and things like that, is things that we only got hints of. Also, the Jedi hunt, right? Which
Right.
one thing that I think Disney has done a good job is introduce the Inquisitors, which we really didn't have before
Mhm.
Disney came in. So seeing some of these characters live action, especially since we see their fates in other media, and in Disney Star Wars has been very interesting. But when you mess with these legacy characters and when you mess with the timeline, you got to make it all make sense. And so it scares me if you don't put the effort to make it all the puzzle pieces fit.
Right. For me, I was put off by the sequel series ending. Matter of fact, I kind of block it out of my head and I just think to myself, it just didn't exist, or at least the last movie didn't exist. And I it's weird because I've come to respect a little bit more certain things about the prequel series, but I kind of always liked Episode 3. It was more so Episode 2 that I never really dug. I
Two
didn't.
is a terribly directed movie.
Right, and like one, there's some epicness about one,
Hmm.
but then there's sometimes there's some lag over, and most of the time it was with Anakin, and so I don't know if that was casting or the way they did it, but this one, when I saw the trailer, I was like, you know what, this is either going to be amazing or this is going to be an immediate bust. And for me, man, looking at the first two episodes, even the first episode, I felt like this is like what the sequel series wanted to try to do, and they just couldn't.
Hmm.
They couldn't
Hmm.
tap into. It's not nostalgia. It feels like this is a part of the world. It feels like I was like, man, if I went from A New Hope and went through, and then I saw this, I'd be like, you know what? This feels like in the same exact vein in so many different respects, down to the production value, down to the score, down to even the up and acting. I was really surprised by these first two episodes. But how did you feel about them?
Well, I think something with the prequels that everybody can kind of get behind is Ewan McGregor did a great job for what he was given, right?
Yeah,
But all the rough dialogue, he made it work. For some reason, like no one ever says anything bad about him in these prequels, right? Um, I think that what you're talking about was I think the prequels had an issue with execution. And I think that we forget that George Lucas didn't direct all the original Star Wars and that he also had a team behind him with more say in what made things work. Not just his wife who did the editing, but she was important, but there was other people in around that made that magic happen, right? And
right.
nothing against George Lucas because everything we have right now as far as like the sci-fi movie industry was some part of it was built
Off his
upon
back.
what he did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And he can create a world like nobody else. So nothing. I never want to. I think I think when the prequels came out, because they weren't as epic as the originals, there was a backlash of us, and I think that he got I think we unjustly went at that man for no, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
you go into the sequels don't really, they really don't fit. And I think that when you talk to Lucas, our Lucas, that he says, well, mythos don't matter. Backstory doesn't matter for movies and things like that. But I think for Star Wars, it
It's
does,
essential.
because
It's almost essential.
it's a saga. It's not an
Yeah.
episodic, like where, oh, what they said the last week. No, it's a saga. It's supposed to be a
Right.
chapter of a story, and they have to flow. They have to run. Doesn't mean repeat and
Right.
copy. It means it has to feel like it's part of this old legend that we're reading. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's not like a conventional anthology. Like it is like a legit legacy saga progression, or supposed to have been.
And so when something doesn't rhyme in that, it feels off. So when you get something
Mm-hmm.
that Rebels does a good job of trying to make everything they do fit, when you
Mm-hmm.
have something like this where it seems like they're taking their time, and again, there's a few continuity breaks in this, but we don't know the rest of the series, right? So I'm one of those people.
Right.
Let me see the whole story. Maybe you'll make it make sense. You know what I mean? Maybe make it make sense. I'm trying to give it a bit about, because I love where they put this up. I love the hurt and the pain that Kenobi is expressing
Yes.
in these scenes. His acting's on point. He's brought a different level of acting to a Star Wars show, in my opinion.
Right.
I'm also excited to see Hayden Christensen. We only saw a little bit of him, but I think he got a raw deal in the original prequels too. And I'm really anxious. I'm really anxious to see him get some love. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And just so you guys know, if y'all hadn't seen the episode, make sure you know this is a spoiler review. We're going to be talking about all the things. So when I post this up here, don't be mad. But
And,
yes,
and
they
oh
do
yeah,
show.
got a little bit. Now, Star Wars Theory did a scene just like this. So in his, I don't know if you've seen his short movie from Star Wars Theory's channel.
No, I
I
haven't seen
think
it.
that I think Disney might have been like, we know Disney, we know the Disney people watching stuff, so I think we're like, that was a good scene. Let me just plop that on in
You
here.
just.
Right. Shout out to you, Star Wars Theory. No, you don't get no check, but shout out to you. But yeah, I think that I really enjoy what they're bringing in here, and it's a compelling, and they did some things I wasn't really expecting. And even for people who don't want to go back and watch the prequels, even that recap montage of the prequels and that storyline was
Whoa,
great.
dude, that was so weird. I think I was looking at it with, I think I was looking at it with Ty and somebody else, and I was like, "Is are the prequels? Did I misjudge the prequels? Because this made it look good. Like it made it legit. Like I was like, wow, this is really interesting. The way they edited it and the way that I remember it, and then the way that they're progressing it, it was almost like it fit perfectly. I don't know how long they spent on the script for this, but I feel like this wasn't a rush thing. You know what I
No,
mean? Like this
and
doesn't feel like this was rushed. This feels like this was kind of years in the making, and they were trying to figure out how to make it work.
and
Um,
and what's cool is all the actors are the right ages to play the characters at this time in the timeline. So you
right,
got to get it right. You like
right,
in Boba Fett should be like 20 years younger, and
yeah.
we just kind of squint our eyes a little bit. Bo-Katan should be 20 years older, and we just kind of squint our eyes a little bit. But everybody's the right age to play these characters.
Right.
And one thing I noticed about the montage of the prequels, it was still so crisp. Like the production value was still
Right.
there. I'm about to look back. Attack of the Clones is a rough movie for me, people. It is a rough movie. But again, what I will say is George Lucas could world build. So out those three movies, even if you didn't like the movies, 1,000 stories that made sense could be spun out of those movies, and
And they
there has
were
been.
based on all these cartoons and miniseries, and now this. But one thing I'll say about Attack of the Clones is there was a scene in Attack of the Clones that a lot of people don't really like, but I loved it. It was when Anakin slaughtered the Sand people after what happened to his mom. And what was so strange about it is I was like, this seems so out of place, but I felt his anger and his pain. And I also was like, I understand it. You know what I'm saying? I connect with why he did it. He was like, I slaughtered them. I slaughtered them like animals because they were animals. He's like, I hate them. and I was like, I can see where this is gonna go. But I loved how they even positioned it, because when he went on the hunt to try to stop them, I was like, he's twirling in his mind, he's concerned, but he doesn't necessarily know what he's intending on doing. It wasn't until he got there and saw where his mom was that he just lost it. He broke. I love that scene. The rest of the movie, I can take it or leave it. But that, the score and how I was like, man, George, I know you got something with this, but I don't know. Yeah, I just want
No,
to
I
add that little
agree.
nugget in there.
When I read the novelization of that scene, it went into graphics what happened and what his thought process was. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that it just wasn't conveyed well on and as well as it could have been. Also,
On
to
the
keep the
screen,
rating the way that the rating they wanted, they're not going to show Anakin like slaughtering and crushing people with boulders and all that other stuff.
right,
But you can see Anakin's the hero that was too late,
right.
consistently too late. And for my Game of Thrones Song of Fire, Ice and Fire,
Fire, yeah.
that was a lot of how Jamie Lannister was in the book. Jamie Lannister, in all pretenses, should have been a hero character, right? But he was born at
Mm-hmm.
the wrong time, under the wrong kings, and even they talk like how the writer writes it. His like jerkish wit is a defense mechanism because he's had to like live through a lot of things and see a lot of things, and people tell him like, no, don't stop the king from hurting his wife because that's not your job. Don't do this.
Right.
Don't do that. And so he had to, because he first came to Kingsguard as a teenager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was such a gifted swordsman, and he had a gifted mentor, and he was pretty from the most powerful house in the family. Sound familiar? Anakin, gifted
Right.
student. They're telling everybody has this rumor that he's the chosen one. He started this
Right.
thing late. He had these special privileges. He's of a special lineage of teachers, right, going down.
Mm-hmm.
And but things but that regulation, nothing ever works out for him. Qui-Gon dies, so he doesn't get the father he's supposed to get, teacher he's supposed to get. He gets the stepbrother kind of raising him type of thing. He can't save his mom. Afraid of using Padme. Like there's just multiple things where it doesn't work out for him.
Yeah.
And that scene is kind of when it comes to boil. And in his mind it was justice, right? And how many times do we taint ourselves or taint our relationships because we're right in the moment, but we
Mm-hmm.
lose who we are. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's the beauty of it. I know
Yeah.
I know I just ranted a lot
No,
about
no,
that.
no,
You know what I'm saying?
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I think all the people that are Star Wars fans will appreciate that. And I mean, even down to the unrequited love interest, like the love that he shouldn't pursue. Like same thing with Jamie, like you said, like it was literally his downfall. And it's the same downfall to Anakin, even though it's like, I mean, he's not supposed to do that, but it made him a part of who he is, as well as it also progressed a lot of other things in Luke and Leia, and ironically, Leia is in this. Did
Was
that
not
throw you
expecting
off?
that. I was not expecting it.
Bro, I did not see that coming, but I
I
like it for
I
some
like it
reason.
too. I
It's
had
so
two
weird.
issues with the Leia storyline in this a little bit, right? No, I like that the girl is opinionated and she's smart and she's quick with it. And because look, I have consistently said, um, Princess Leia is the strongest, most competent character out the original trilogy, right? And I think that people do not. I think that some people think power is, oh, she can crush a starship with her mind and stuff. No, that's not strength. That's a different type of strength, but that is not like the whole package. Princess Leia is the strongest, most competent character of the original trilogy, and I
Right,
like to see her genesis in this. And again, that's why it kind of disappointed me how they portrayed her in the sequels because like she's such a strong character, and it's kind of those things where people think that physical might is strength. You know what I mean? They think that's all there
right.
is to strength. But if you ever notice, there's some people who just walk in a room and take command, and you're like, man, I'm gonna follow them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that leadership quality that's just there. And I like that they talked about this when Kenobi was like, she's a Jedi. No, she was a leader, and that's what you are already.
Right.
Um, my, my
That's
my two things I didn't like though was people act like grown men can't catch a. They say she's 10, but she looked like she's 8 or something. Like can't catch a 10-year-old. That was a little. That was a little. I was
so
like,
so
come on.
this is my theory on that. And I think that they did it like that because they were trying to be really subtle with it. The conversation that she had with her cousin, she was using the force. honestly, to pull a lot. She hadn't been connected with that man. She hadn't seen him, but she was able to pull and ascertain all these things. She used so much discernment with it. I was like, that's beyond wisdom. Like, that's supernatural what she's doing. And then also it came out again when she had a conversation with Obi-Wan. She was like, nah, you're lying to me. I can perceive what's going on here. And this is and he was like, how old are you? Like, I'm 10. Like, you don't act like no 10-year-old. I think her being able to maneuver around and her being able to assess certain situations is just her force sensitive nature coming out. It's just weird because I didn't expect it, because I was thinking, okay, well, Luke didn't seem like he exhibited any of that we were new, but the way that they're positioning this, that's the way I took it. Because even the way she kind of slid underneath a tree and just kept moving, I was like, how much like had she how much exhibit of force sensitivity is she at this point? Because I'm surprised that Obi-Wan didn't even call it out. But then to be fair, he's also dealing with something as well. But we'll get to that.
So we know, and I've had conversations with people online this like, oh, well, you don't have an issue with Leia doing this stuff, but you had an issue with Rey just not getting trained. It's like it's different things, right? So
it's really different.
Force sensitive people can exhibit certain reflexive things or passive force abilities or sensory abilities, or they have a gift for something.
Yeah.
So Anakin was always talked about having really fast reflexes. It wasn't that he had really fast. I mean, he was fast, but it wasn't just he had reflexes. He had a precognition like up to a seconds where he could know what turn to make and everything like that when the pod racing. That's why he was the only human to get pod race.
Right.
And that's and that wasn't an active ability. That was more of a passive bonus that was given to him.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think that could be something. Leia seemed to be reading what her cousin had gone through, or his emotional state, or his fears and things like that, which could be that Leia has an issue or has a affinity with mind reading. We all know that when Luke wanted to connect to somebody, she got to connect to Leia on the Falcon, and so we
Right.
don't
I didn't
know.
think about that.
We always think it's Luke, and there's always been a theory that Leia for some reason had some kind of block. This is legend stuff, but there's always been a theory that Leia had some kind of force block on her. For you Naruto fans, think about the Naruto seal, and whether that was her training to be a diplomat and all that stuff outside of like force, like spirituality, or what. And that Luke going into her mind might have awakened some more of those feelings, and that's how fans also explain that she might have had a vision of her mother. I think that in this show they could explain that force block, and they also could explain maybe Obi-Wan giving her an image of her mother, which I think would be really interesting. Would fix that retcon or that plot hole in the prequels. I mean, in the prequels original trilogy transition.
Right. It is really interesting. And they also they did something that I think you're gonna have a big comment on, but I don't know one way or another about it, is the fact that Obi-Wan didn't know that Anakin was alive.
So I do
Um,
have. Oh,
I
sorry. Go ahead.
No, only thing I'm saying is that I don't have too much stake in it because I have not looked at all the Rebels. I haven't finished Clone Wars. All I would go off of is the way that Episode 3 ended. And the last thing that I remember is that, he's like, you're my brother. You are the best of us. Yada, 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 yada. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. And then, of course, Anakin said, I hate you. And then he watched as Anakin just proceeded to burn profusely. He just left him there. And he took the other lightsaber from Anakin, and he walked away. Now, at that time, his focus, much like this in the show, is he specifically focused on Luke because he feels like he's failed Anakin. Anakin's died, and now this girl has died, and now he has a responsibility to take care of this, and that is all that he's supposed to do. He can't let his force be used. He can't use anything. His own prime directive is just focus on Luke. Now, I feel like something similar happened to somebody else in Star Wars, but I feel like maybe he really did just turn it all off and was like, all right, well, I'm going to protect this kid so this doesn't happen again in some way, shape, or form. Because I always assumed that he might have known, but I was like, I'm I'm contemplating how that emotionally is messing him up right now. But I was gonna get your take because you've seen everything. You're completely caught up more than I am. So what was your
So,
thoughts on it?
so my first thought was when she was like, "You didn't." Well, there's a bunch of issues with this scene. The first thought was this random Inquisitor shouldn't know that Anakin is Vader. If an Inquisitor came up to Vader and said that, the Inquisitor would be dead, right? As far as we've seen Vader know that Vader doesn't play that I'm Anakin stuff. So him using his name like that. So I'm curious what their connection is. Whether they say she's affinity to read minds. She has says that maybe she saw Anakin killing people because I think one of the Padawans that ran away at the beginning of the first episode
That's
was
exactly what I
her.
was thinking.
So maybe she saw Anakin do this, like start, and then Palpatine was like, "No, I'll catch these," because there's a thing in different Star Wars media, Palpatine taking um, force sensitive children and babies to do something with. Part of his
Right.
Inquisitors, and there's some other experiments we don't know about, right?
Right.
So maybe she saw that, and that's why she knows. But she's real reckless using his name like that. The other thing is that Vader has been actively hunting Jedi for the last decade, right?
Yeah.
Even so that in canon, the Jedi remnants have had hunting parties trying to counter Vader that have not turned out well for them. And so
Mhm.
the only thing I can think of is that Obi-Wan really has just cut himself off from even knowing news of a greater universe,
Right.
and that he probably hasn't having regular conversations. I've always assumed he's had conversations with Yoda, but I guess maybe he's not having conversations with Yoda either.
I don't think so.
Um, and the other part I talked about the Inquisitor. The other part is I don't know how. I know as an actor, and for this series, it is probably better for Obi-Wan to not be using the Force and cut himself off like sequels Luke and some other Jedi's from Legends. But what we knew of Obi-Wan before that he was actively training during this time because he was here to protect Luke. So him not having like him being scared of a single Inquisitor or even two Inquisitors. Like Obi-Wan is here, the Grand Inquisitor is down here, and the other Inquisitors are below here. Like Ahsoka took on like
Mhm.
three Inquisitors by herself.
Right.
Like Darth Maul was a threat for multiple Inquisitors. So I get they're using it. He's rusty and he hasn't done this in a while, and it seems like him using that force grab for Leia was the first time he's done that in like almost a decade. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm interested in seeing where we go from here, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And I do think that what messed him up is kind of something similar what they did with the sequels when it came to Luke. Where, Luke, he was going through the books and he didn't get exactly what he was hoping he would get until later on. And I think that for Obi-Wan, he was waiting for his master. He's waiting for Qui-Gon to show him or impart to him the next stage of his training. And I think when it didn't happen, I think this is what really, in all honesty, from a human standpoint, I think he was devastated. I think that they showed in episode 1 or 2, he was continuously having like taunted nightmares. I was like, there's no way he's gonna be able to hear from Qui-Gon or anybody. Like he's not only cut himself off from the Force, but emotionally he's compromised. I don't know if I'm correct in that, but from a Jedi standpoint, you can't be all around in your emotions and be able to really truly focus to hone in on the Force, right?
Right. So that's something the sequels also kind of messed up on is they didn't even fault. They treated the Force like an X-Men ability. You get to
Right.
a certain age, you can just use it, right? When really you train as a Jedi, you train as a Sith, you train as a Night Sister, you train as an Inquisitor. You're using your philosophy to access the Force in a way, right? So
Mm,
so for the Jedi code is like peace and mindfulness, understanding your surrounding, things like that. The Sith are all about that accessing your raw emotions, whether that's anger, fear, love, things like that. And that's so a good example would be the Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan fight. Remember they all got
yes.
separated?
Yes.
You saw
Love that fight.
Qui-Gon kneeled, meditated, tried to center himself, right?
Hmm.
Darth Maul started pacing and ramping himself up, right?
Hmm.
So that's how they were accessing their two different things: fear, anger, peace. These things help them access their abilities. Um, and I'm so scared that because they lost their philosophy in the sequels, I'm very scared if there's a lot of hands in this pot that's not going to pay attention that the Force isn't just a superpower. It's not just it's a philosophy to access and a spiritual guide. Like, but again, they have great hands on it. Rebels did a really good job of accessing this. The Clone Wars, they know what people, these people know what they're doing when it comes to uh, being very delicate in what they have the Force do and not do and how people access it.
Right.
I like how shook he was because, as you mentioned, he burnt up and he left. I always thought he couldn't stand to see Anakin in that much pain, and also couldn't bring himself to kill through the killing blow. Like, you know what I mean? Obi-Wan has murked people before, but I think seeing
Right.
Anakin there, he's like, and he just wanted to turn his back and forget it. And so seeing that rev up in his time, and what does it do to you that
Right. That's what I'm saying.
your brother and your surrogate son in a way,
Son, basically. Yeah.
you know, you've been guilty that you killed him and you failed him. Because remember, in the prequels, in episode 3, he said, "I failed you, Anakin. Not you failed, Anakin. I
I
failed
failed
you.
you.
I wasn't the teacher Qui-Gon could have been. I didn't do good enough job of training you. I didn't do good enough job of protecting you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we led. I failed you. So, but now what do you do when he's alive? Does it give you hope? Do you start imagining what he's thinking of you this whole time? Do you imagine his rage or how far he's fallen? Do you think you can still save him? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Because there's a line in the original trilogy where he says he's more machine than man now.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you go? He's lost. He's just lost. So yeah, I love that imbalance, and that imbalance could affect how you're doing with the Force.
Yeah.
How you're
I
dealing
think
with
it
the Force, or using
I
the
think it's
Force.
definitely gonna play a role later because I feel like Anakin is the center point that made him backslide, essentially. And as much as he's probably afraid to deal with it, this is going to be the catalyst for him to push forward. It's not even going to be the twins anymore. It's going to be him, which is going to be crazy because what happens when Darth Vader sees him? Like, what is that conversation going to be like, honestly? Because, again, realistically thinking, the last thing that he saw was his master walking away as he's being burned alive. He doesn't have a one limb, one limb left. He's burning alive in rage. And this ninja walked off. And then on top of that, later on, he was told that he killed his own wife.
Yeah,
Not
and his
knowing what
pregnant
really.
child, because he didn't know his twins, but pregnant child too.
Right. So it's like he's gonna focus all that anger directly on Obi-Wan. Now, I don't. This is where it gets really fun to me, in all honesty. And I'll pull up a picture real quick. We're gonna close it. I promise. Um, there's questions that we don't know, and maybe but I don't know. You know, at what point does Darth Vader realize he has, you know, children still alive? Was it during A New Hope that he just automatically realized that? We don't know. It could have been taking place during this altercation. Just like I was wondering, like, why does Leia know Obi-Wan? You know what I mean? Like, I always was curious about it. I was like, when did they have like a conversation? It was kind of like, oh, okay, everybody knows Ben Kenobi is a pious Jedi or whatever, but like, why does she know him? Now this show adds validity to that. Down to this picture right here, and I was curious your perspective on this picture. Um,
So
Maz
that's
Kanata,
Anakin's. Oh,
right?
sorry.
Yeah, no, no. I was gonna say is that Maz Kanata ended up with Anakin's lightsaber, right?
Mm-hmm.
How? From this point right here, he's getting it out. At one point, when does this go and get into her hands? You know what I mean?
So,
There's so many
so
questions like that I love about
so
this.
they never explained it, and it was something you have to because that's the lightsaber. So one, I was really surprised because that's Anakin's lightsaber, but it's already modified. And
Mm-hmm.
so did Obi? I thought we were going to see that modified in this series, but
Mm-hmm.
it looks like Obi-Wan modified and repaired Anakin's lightsaber. Maybe because he couldn't repair Anakin, he repaired the lightsaber.
That
But that's
makes
the
sense.
lightsaber he gives to Luke. Luke
Right.
loses it when he loses his hand. In
Mm-hmm.
Legends, they use it to grow the clone Luke, who used that lightsaber, but that's gone away now. Um,
Right.
so how does she get it, right? I think I think that this show can do a lot to connect some dots, but it has to be careful, right? And whenever you do prequel stuff, you got to be mindful of what you're saying and how does it line up. There's one thing that I'm really like. This doesn't make any sense to me. Jedi are almost a myth by the time A New Hope comes around, right? Like people don't like Han Solo's like I don't even believe in the Force. But this is 10 years ago and people just recognize Inquisitors, right? Why would you recognize Inquisitors? There's only a couple thousand Jedi across 1,000 planets, right? So you see an Inquisitor would be almost like a rumor at best.
Right.
And this is 10 years before A New Hope. So the people just, I mean, even so much that the pre officers are like, what, you're weird, magic is fake, getting choked out by Vader, right? But you had a whole division of Inquisitors like a decade ago. Like,
right.
maybe 20 years, if there's no active like presence in the government, you can go, there's, all right, the Force thing is a myth. But this is a decade ago.
Right.
So that's interesting. One thing I do like is that they realized the other Inquisitors like, hey, you can't be doing all this, and hey, you can't. Senator's daughter, the Senate still has power in the timeline of the Republic and the Empire thing.
Hierarchies.
Yeah, the Senate still has power. They don't really totally lose power until the first Death Star is online. So right now, you have to be careful about how much you do, and slavery, even on the Outer Rim, you can't just be going around killing people wholeheartedly, or because the Empire still needs the senators to control the different regions, and there's not enough military might to do all that. So they can do a lot of stuff, but they still have to be careful. Seeing Alderaan was great. And can we talk about badass Owen? Can we talk about badass Owen for a second?
Oh, look, first off, he start? Wasn't this his first start? Was with Star Wars Episode 3?
Yeah, he was in 2. He was in Attack of the Clones, right? The same actor.
Yeah, and like he's amazing. Like Joel Edgerton is an amazing actor now. But like the fact that he came back for this and he was like, Obi-Wan, I don't give two flips about you. Like, get out of here. Like he was like,
and the memes like he did about Anakin or like he traded that. Like the memes is coming from that one scene.
Right. Like he just, I ain't gonna say he was being disrespectful, but he was kind of like, man, nah, bro. And it's weird because I can see how him from that point would end up being the one that we see from A New Hope. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes complete
I think
sense.
this redeems that character for a lot of people because a lot of people see him as like the grumpy old uncle, don't want him to do nothing, but he was protecting him. Right? And his stepmom got killed, his stepbrother is dead. This crazy old Obi-Wan wants you to be a jet. No, you want to stay here but on the farm.
Right.
Have a peaceful life. That's my boy now. I'm your daddy. like Obi-Wan, if you wanted to raise him, you should have raised him, but you gave him to me. That's my family.
Right.
And then even when the Dark Sister came about, and I was like, wow, no, F Jedi, I ain't vermin. I kill vermin on my farm. And she like, well, you got a family on, you got a wife, you got a kid. And Owen just stood up, didn't say nothing, didn't look over at Obi-Wan. And I think he didn't look over at Obi-Wan because he was like, she get close to Obi-Wan, she's one step closer to Luke. Nah,
right. He's smart. He knows the game.
You know what? I need more scenes with Owen. But even if I get nothing else, this is added to the character of Owen instead of taking away. Instead of fan, making it a fan thing or anything like that, no nostalgia bait. You have added to that character, and writers, great job. And maybe because he's a named actor, maybe because he has that pull now that you want to do something great with him. But good job.
Yeah.
Good. Also, shout out to a woman who tried to talk about her rights and got her hand cut off. After police people.
Dude, look, before we even talk anymore, we gotta bring up Reva. She came out of nowhere to me. And I'm not gonna lie, she is amazing in this. She's a whole pound. And I don't say that lightly. She gives no F's. I don't know her connection to Darth Vader. I don't know where she comes from. I would assume she's one of those kids from that Order 66. Because why show that scene at all? Because that scene still has not made any connection to this timeline as of yet. But she is just, I don't know, man. I don't know how to really describe it. She's such a good villain. And I think because we've been going through so many Marvel shows and Star Wars shows, and it's like, I don't know. They found a way of bringing an Inquisitor that I didn't know anything about, didn't have any connection, didn't have any anticipation about, and like her just animosity for this man, and like what she's trying to do by any means necessary, whoever's in her way, she just don't care. And I love it.
Yeah.
Like I think the actress is doing an amazing job. I'm loving her.
When the other Inquisitor's like, hold on, just let him, like, got another hand, and I
Bruh,
think
this scene right here, she was like, "Yep, you're about to die, unless the Jedi saves you."
also, I so okay, we got to talk about the Inquisitor too. Let's finish it with him. But that scene was really important because I love that speech by the Grand Inquisitor. Like I love that speech talking about the Jedi Code being an edge, and we heard that in the trailer. This guy said he didn't look at the Inquisitors or the Grand Inquisitor's depiction Rebels. So I'm guessing this is just good directing by, because Dave Filoni has a big hand in this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dave Filoni came with the Grand Inquisitor, so I'm guessing he gave him some pointers on how this guy acts, because some of the things were off, but it was mostly on point with that speech. But she was like, "I ain't got time for these words." He's like, "We can't just be killing random people. We can't just be. I mean, we can, but it's a hassle, right? We don't have to do the paperwork and the cover up. You know what I mean? And the Jedi stopping it, and also like she's like a pit bull. She's like a rabbit. Like just she's. I ain't got time for this stuff, and she has something she wants to prove or get, or I don't know. She wants to get an audience with Vader. I don't know. It may be cool that she's just trying to get in front of Vader so she can try to kill Vader or something. You know, we don't know. We don't know. I think that I liked her in this first episode. I know people have had issues with her in the first episode. I liked her in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Second episode, that parkour scene went on too long for me. And what's the guy from Eternals? What's the guy from Eternals?
Is it Kumail? I think
Kumail. All right. She's murking everybody else getting away with no feelings. But in a back alley, she lets him leave. Lets him live.
So
I was like, what is this?
So when I was watching it, I was kind of like, Reva, you've been running on these rooftops for a very long time. How the heck have you not caught up with this ninja by now? Because I'm like, yo, everything she was doing was cool. I loved it. But I was like, how did she not catch up with this man? I was like, because we saw the distance. We saw the distance from when they were shooting.
And that's the other point with the directing of that. And I think because they have that screen in front of them, she was looking around like, I don't know, directions. But we could clearly, as the audience, see that there's these big. So it didn't make any sense the way her body language was for finally go over there. And then it took you how long to get over there?
Bruh, they were already, like, matter of fact, I was sitting there thinking, before Obi-Wan gets down to the ground to meet up with Leia that he just saved, the Inquisitor is going to be there. And she's probably already going to have Leia with a sword ready to her neck. And yeah, you're coming with me. We're going to go see Vader right now. End of the scene. The fact that she didn't catch up, I was like, I was kind of like, if they would have removed the Kumail scene altogether, I think that would have been a fast track. It would have made a lot more sense. But yeah, to your point, it was kind of like they're just for spectacle. And I don't understand why she didn't kill him, because she didn't care about killing anybody else. The Grand Inquisitor was splicing the dude Flea's face from what I saw.
Yeah.
But it's
and
weird.
I still find that guy amusing. I don't know him as an actor from anything else, but I don't find him.
Look at the movie The Big Sick. He's a great actor. He's actually really funny. But what Disney's been doing with him, I haven't really vibed with. The weird thing is this. I wonder if he is force sensitive. I wonder if he is like a past Jedi, because I think that one, she was one of those past Jedi, and I feel like she has some kind of connection with him. It just didn't add up why she didn't kill him. Because to be honest, when the other Jedi, did she kill that other Jedi in the first episode? Or did
Yeah,
I know they saw him dead, but I'm saying she didn't.
Oh, who did it?
Right. Like the only
Oh.
person that she's really had all animosity towards has been Obi-Wan to me. And just anybody in her way to get to Obi-Wan has been killed. Except for
So do
this guy.
you think she isn't bloodthirsty outside of her dogmatic like pursuit of Obi-Wan? You think
So
maybe that's it?
I do. I do
And she
think
said, "You're
that
no Jedi." She was like, "You're no Jedi, so you're no good to me." And any, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Right. It's like she read his mind, got the information she need, didn't chop his head off or nothing. She just kept it moving. I really do think that her focus is anybody protecting him, anybody that's in her way to get to him, she's gonna remove them or she's gonna use them. But it is weird though. But I do have a theory though. I don't know if there's ever been another time with this. I do remember certain comics where Vader used people to get what he needed. And I wonder if he's using this girl to figure out where Obi-Wan could be. Because I don't think that Palpatine would really want Anakin anywhere near Obi-Wan for a chance of him having like a emotional response one way, left or right. I feel like it would make more sense that Palpatine would want him to focus on what he's doing and eradicate all the Jedi and just keep it moving.
well,
I
I
think
think.
that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think that Anakin's more useful when he's rageful right now. Vader's more useful when he has the rage, and so
Right.
keeping Kenobi out there might be beneficial. My other thing though is if the Empire knows that Bail Organa got Kenobi to go find his daughter, and Vader knew this, Vader's taking a straight ship to Alderaan. You know what I mean? Like it would have to take the Emperor going, no, you can't do it. He's a senator right now. We need them.
Right.
Emperor would have to be like, no, like straight. But if Vader is like, oh, they got connections. Oh, he can summon them like that.
Right.
Vader would have stormed that power. Everybody would have got it. Everybody got it.
You know what? Maybe that is why Alderaan took an L in the first one.
He was like, yeah, blow that planet up.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they were the first ones. They're the first ones on my list. I heard it from a snitch. They got Obi-Wan out there. You know what? We're gonna eradicate him. Give me the girl. But no, in all seriousness though, like, what if this series does reveal how Anakin comes to find out that his children are alive?
I mean, in Legends, it usually happens in between 4 and 5, but they could change that. This Legends is Legends for a reason now, right? So he could and he could and for all he knows, because he doesn't know that he had twins or he was having twins. He just knows he was having a child.
Right.
So that could be another thing he's obsessing over to find, and we just don't know. They just have to be really careful how they play it, right?
Yeah.
I also think. Do you think that's R2 buried in the sand outside of Obi-Wan's place? Because I'm not sure how that fits in canon either. Because that little sensor that pops up looks like something R2's thing. So I don't know. I'm just.
Isn't R2 on Tatooine right now?
R2 last time we saw R2, he was under the care of the Organas. Jimmy Smith, man, he must be thanking the movie gods he took that role because he keeps getting checks after checks after checks for a minor role he first had in the prequels. So good for him. Good for him.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, look at him. Like, yeah, that was the best decision I ever had. Yeah, so but last time we saw them, he told Wedge Antilles Pop to be like, hey, these droids are under my care now, wipe the protocol droid's memory. And so, and then we don't see him again until they're still on that ship and they come into well, no, I guess we see him in Rebels. So we see him in Rebels at the Yavin base, and then we see them in episode 4.
Right. Because episode.
And I'm sorry.
No, I was trying to figure out where he was in episode 4.
So episode 4, they're on Princess Leia's ship. She gives him the code. She gives him the message to give to Obi-Wan and the message to Death Star, and sends him off in the shuttle.
That's it.
What's never made sense since the prequels are this, which is my plot holes, is that Obi-Wan goes, I don't know this droid. Now it could have been Obi-Wan just playing around, like, pretending he didn't know more about these droids than he did. But it also seemed like R2-D2 didn't recognize him either. So it's one of those plot hole things. So
it's hard to gauge whether or not, because even in this one, he's been trying to fake like he doesn't know a lot of different things.
I thought Obi-Wan might murk that other Jedi for keep like calling out his name like that.
Oh yeah, I was like, first. Well, I'm gonna say this, and this is all respect to Obi-Wan and all, but to tell that man to take his sword, put it in the desert, and go back to the city, didn't he think that they were gonna kill him? Right?
Yeah,
Like he sentenced that man to a death sentence, and I was like, that's wrong, bro.
Yeah, bury your lightsaber and move to the other side of the planet and get off this planet, like maybe something like that, and take your prisoners with you. But he said, go back to town. Are you trying to get this guy killed?
Right. Do you think that he did that intentionally to make sure they were off his trail? Like, okay, they killed a Jedi. It's not gonna be me.
Well, yeah. So I don't think. I only can speak from Legends in this time period, but during this time period, Yoda said, "Protect the boy." So Obi-Wan canonically before this show did not leave Tatooine to go anyplace else. Right. His whole thing was about protecting Luke. Even in Rebels, when Darth Maul finds Obi-Wan's trying to talk it out up until, I think I showed you that scene, up until Darth Maul goes, wait a minute, why are you here? What are you protecting? No, who are you protecting? Obi-Wan's like, oh. Right. So that's his whole sole purpose, because Luke to him is the chosen one, is the future, is his redemption in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And while I guess they're hinting that Leia takes after Padme, they're saying Luke takes over Anakin. I think there's a mixture, because I think Leia's aggressive directness comes from Anakin.
Absolutely.
And her social intelligence probably comes from Padme.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. Would be my guess.
Yeah, because when she was like, why would I trust you? I was like, well, you actually are spitting facts, but this man is lying, and you don't really know him from Hill of Beans, and he's like a third cousin to you. You don't know who he is. But yeah, dude, honestly, man, I think that the amount of questions and the connective dots, that it's just so interesting to me, man. Like it's a positive. It's not a negative. Like there are some holes that kind of like question here or there, but there's time to make it make sense. So no, man, I've been very pleasantly surprised at how good this was, but also like the production design, like the visual effects. Like it doesn't look CG saturated at all. Matter of fact, the second episode reminded me of Blade Runner, and the first episode reminded me of Doom. I was like, how much money are you spending on this?
But look, guys, I get it. No more Tatooine though. You got your money off them sets. You let Tatooine rest a little bit. Let's go to some other places. So it was great to see Alderaan. It was great to see this other new planet the Blade Runner planet. But let Tatooine rest a little bit. We had enough Tatooine. I know we're gonna go back at least once or twice in Mandalorian season 3. I know it, but let us see some other things. All right.
So do you think that they're gonna give Luke a little bit of time, like they're giving Leia?
I doubt it. I think, to my heart, I guess I can't say it anymore. Before, I know there was a thing where they felt that Luke coming on screen for the sequels felt like he stole, like just his character being there stole the every scene he was in. Mm-hmm. And I know even before that, they treated Luke like almost like the Christ figures, where they didn't really mess with him too much because he is the main hero from the original trilogy. So if you notice, it's very up until Mandalorian season 2, they really didn't use Luke a lot, Yeah. And what did he do when he showed up? He stole the scene. It's Luke. It's Luke Skywalker. I'm happy Leia's getting some screen time. I'm happy Leia's getting some more backstory in who she is as a kid. I wasn't expecting that. I would love to see Luke, but you also be careful with Luke too, because to Luke, Obi-Wan is just some crazy hermit guy he's ran into a couple of times. He ain't having no adventures with Obi-Wan or things like that. So you got to keep it where Luke's kind of isolated, and he's the point of view character for the original trilogy in a lot of ways. My biggest issue is the Grand Inquisitor doesn't die for a couple of years in Rebels. So Chris from Three Black Geeks mentioned that they saw him in other scenes that weren't in the first two episodes in the trailer, so he might not be dead. I really hope they didn't kill a good villain from another series in the timeline before it happened, just because they wanted to focus on Reva.
Yeah,
they both could have been great characters. You didn't have to kill them, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm waiting to see what happens.
Yeah,
I know his species has 2 stomachs, so maybe he's fine.
Yeah, and it's also evident that Darth Vader is not communicated with the Grand Inquisitor in any way, shape, or form.
No. In fact, in Legends, Grand Inquisitor tried to attack Vader because he thought he was a Jedi at first. In their first meeting, before the Inquisitors became right under Vader, Vader damn near killed that guy.
Really?
It was like, you work for me, like, because no one knew where Vader was in the hierarchy when this first started. In the first couple of years of the Empire, people didn't know what Darth Vader was. He has a whole rank. He got a lightsaber like a Jedi. So there's been instances of other Imperial until he became the face of Jedi hunting, right? So that's what I'm saying. It has to. If this took place 2 years after Episode 3, maybe it makes sense that Obi-Wan doesn't know Vader's around. 10 years later, then it has to. Yo, you found it? Yeah. Vader almost murked that man. But 10 years later, we have to say that Obi-Wan's just been making sushi in the desert and hasn't even looked at the news, radio, or any kind of broadcast how the world. He's completely tuned out of the world, and which is plausible.
Goodness, jeez, oh my God, that man on fire. I wonder what he did to this man. What he did to this man? Why he on fire, bro?
Look, this is the era of Vader. If there's some sad moments. There's a clone trooper or a stormtrooper. I can't remember if it's clone or stormtrooper that tries to be Vader's friend. It does not end well for that man. It does not. Vader is you don't want to be around him at this point in his life. Like, you don't want to be around him, and you definitely don't want to attack him. There is a great. I've always wanted to put this in a movie. There's a great comic panel of the rebels setting a trap for Vader. He's surrounded by rebel soldiers and artillery. It's like, give it up, you're surrounded. And Vader just looks at him and is like, all I sense that I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. And it is such a bad, cool panel that it is awesome. So I am looking for that. I'm looking for that rage, that controlled coldness, that just like, you failed me. Like, just like, Vader should not play. Vader should, and all my people that seen Rebels know when Vader showed up in Rebels, it was no longer a joke. I mean, it was a joke before, but when Vader showed up, he was not messing around with this.
So do you think, based on what you've seen in the first 2 episodes of this, the production value, and if they chose to take it a darker route, would you be interested in a Darth Vader series?
Oh,
just Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's the scene I'm talking about. Yeah, if you can find the panel that shows what he's surrounded by. But yeah, I really do hope they do this Kenobi series, because again, there's only so much you can do with Kenobi. Kenobi can't have a whole 5 seasons of they thought they had him. They thought they had him.
Wait, he killed
and
him?
Also, Vader doesn't care about his life. There's been times when Jedi parties have tried to kill Vader, and Vader just goes all in, like, there's people that try to take his place by the Emperor's side, like this cyborg kind of Imperial soldiers. Vader wrecked him. There's so many different stories you could tell during this time of Vader, and I hope they do it, because I would love Hayden. When I always see those interviews of Hayden talk about Anakin, talk about Vader, this man is a fan since he was a boy. And I think that him being in the suit, I think he would love it. And I think that Clone Wars showed what the proper, like, effective execution of the Anakin of the character of Anakin could
Mm-hmm.
do. It could be compelling. I think he got a lot of flack for how he was directed, or how that script was, and how the dialogue was kind of clunky in the prequels.
Yeah.
I would love to see him get the opportunity to do a mini series of Vader, whether that's hunting down Jedi, whether that's, finding out that Palpatine has lied to him at certain points. There's another panel where Vader finds out that Palpatine lies, but he can't do anything about it. But then you see the room of the bridge. He's by himself on the bridge of the Star Destroyer, and all the shielding glass cracks around him. Like, it is
Whoa.
crazy. As that inner rage comes out, he can't do anything now about it. But he finds out that Palpatine lied. I think it was either about Luke being his son, or it was about, oh no, I think it was like Padme had lived. No, I think it was that he found out Luke was his son, so that means Padme didn't die when him and Obi-Wan fought. That means she lived and gave birth, so he didn't kill her. I think that's what happened. But just anyway, my point being is there's so many stories you could tell with Vader during this time period, and Anakin is the main character of the Star Wars saga.
Right.
He just is. So there's a lot you could do, and he's one of the most popular characters, and it's an iconic, one of the most iconic figures in pop culture. So, anybody knows. I mean, everybody in the world, if you see a Darth Vader helmet, you know it. You don't see a Star Wars movie or production, you know who Darth Vader is. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot you could do with that, and I really like Hayden to get that love.
Yeah. I think that my hope, honestly, with this series, I wish it wasn't 6 episodes. That's still confusing to me. Is that he gets some recognition um, from this moving forward. Because I think a lot more people now value him than they did when the movies were originally coming out. And I don't think it has anything to do with the quality of the sequels. I think it just in general, after spending a little bit of time away, people have been able to appreciate what he was able to do with the directing and the story that he was given. Um, it's just gonna be interesting. I really don't know. I'm excited. We'll see what happens in the third episode. If they just go in the third episode and just give us Vader immediately, that would be interesting. I think if they started off and all of a sudden like they show him in the tank, they're starting to put his suit on, and it starts to go from his periphery, like where, because this is what I want. I really want them to show like a moment where he having flashbacks or he's having like thoughts of what he's gone through to realize that Obi-Wan is literally almost in arm's reach. I think that'd be a very compelling scene to do. But
I think this is what you gotta do, Disney. Whatever you think of those, whatever you think of the prequels, episode 3 and episode 1, lightsabers fights are the standard.
They're the best.
They're the standard.
They're the best.
And yeah, I really, there's a lot of things in the fandom now that like Disney in this series, Disney has finally been using lightsabers correctly, not like baseball bats in the sequels. So it gives me some hope. But the bar is here for the choreography, for the time you do it, for the music behind it, the emotional impact of it. Like the bar is here. You gotta match that energy. We gotta see you at least try to match that energy. You can't go the sequel route. You can't go the sequel routes. So I don't know who you have to get, but please do yourself a favor, because I want to love this series. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So far, what would you grade from A to F the first 2 episodes?
First 2 episodes, I'm gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give it a solid A. I enjoyed it. Most of the issues I might have with it could be resolved in the storytelling going forward. So I'm gonna give it an A. I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see what's happening next. And it's also like visiting a piece of your past to see these characters come back and these actors come back and do this again. So I give it an A.
Yeah. For me, it's A to A plus, man. I was thrown off by how good this was. So many different things I didn't realize, risks that they're actually taking. Um, I just want them to rev up the emotional brutality of it, not even so much the physical, but what's going on in Anakin's mind and where is it Obi-Wan is about to go. Because now it's gonna be interesting because basically by the end of this series, we're gonna have him be the true to form Obi-Wan that we saw in A New Hope. Like
Mm-hmm.
for all the understanding, capability, it's going to be very fascinating to see him get to that point. I'm also curious if there's going to be a time jump. If it's not, they could make another season of this, but we'll see.
They
We'll see.
could, and I think also there could be a. I'm hoping we get a Liam Neeson cameo, even if it's just his voice. We know that. We know that. We know that during this time period he can't materialize, but he can use his voice. So I'm hoping we get some Liam Neeson. But also in that montage of the prequels, we saw my boy Mace. We saw my
We
boy
did.
Mace,
We
and
did.
I'm all for that. I mean, I think Mace Windu is dead, but he's my favorite Jedi. So
I
I'm
mean,
hoping.
who says he's dead?
Who says he's dead? You know, Samuel will come back with something he wants to do. So
Always, always.
so
He said
we'll
me back.
yeah. So I think that I think there's a lot that we can see here, and possibility. Do we get a scene with Yoda? Right? We get a scene of Yoda communicating with Obi-Wan. Um, so there's some things, and if you wanted to, like we said before, if you wanted to set up that series with a young Dooku and a young Qui-Gon, why not introduce? Why not have Qui-Gon appear in this? Remind some of the new fans and the old who this wise and powerful Jedi Master was.
Yeah, it's either gonna be Yoda or it's gonna be Qui Gon. My money is on Qui Gon because that is what I feel like that is the piece of the puzzle that Obi-Wan is missing. He hasn't gotten that resolve. He hasn't been able to really let it go because he still some kind of way blames himself for it, even though it didn't have anything to do with him.
And if we know in Legends in the books that were supposed to be canon, not Legends in the books that were supposed to be canon, Ahsoka is hanging out on Alderaan. So yeah, so a lot of fans was like, well, why wouldn't Bail Organa go to Ahsoka? Well, that could be a lot of reasons. I'm not a sticker on that point, but I'm saying that we could get one last reunion, even though Ewan McGregor has never been on scene with an Ahsoka before. In the Clone Wars TV show, the trio was Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan. So
So
do you waste the chance to get an on-screen live action reunion with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan? Do you waste that here? You know what I'm saying? Am I making myself clear? Am I
no,
not?
it makes complete sense. I get it because from a live action standpoint, it's like this is an opportunity. This is the only place that would make sense to make it happen. You could do it on the Ahsoka series, but it doesn't seem like that would make sense to just randomly have a moment like that. But I think that where it could work in this season or this series or in the Ahsoka is if they do a small flashback. Like somebody starts to think about, what they were doing, what they had to do together, and reminiscing on that. That even then it would still be a dope scene. Because if you have a
Or
small little flashback, you could have like, Hayden Christensen, he's a little older, but he could pull it off. It'd be fine.
or Obi-Wan as a Force ghost to
Oh,
Ahsoka in her series.
that's
I,
interesting.
I'm just saying, so Ahsoka is a
I didn't think
great
about that.
character. And Ahsoka is also one of those characters. And this is what this is my. So the difference between Ahsoka and a lot of the other characters that we're getting introduced to now is they told the actress for Reva that, oh, there's a lot of racism in the Star Wars fandom, and you're going to face a lot of it. And there's racism in every fandom. This is real life or whatever.
Yeah.
But I see a difference between that and when Dave Filoni told the voice actress for Ahsoka was, you're a new character that we're introducing to the canon that wasn't there before. You're gonna get a lot of hate, but by the time we're done, they're gonna love you. The writing's gonna be on point, that they're gonna love you. And I think there's one that starts off with a negative and starts with divisiveness that happened with the sequels. And there's another perspective that goes, it's an uphill challenge to introduce another character into the lore of the legacy characters, but we're going to do the work to have those characters love you. And I would say Ahsoka is one of the most beloved Star Wars characters now, decades later. You know, so I don't know. I think they can put in this work to make her good. I don't want this to be the Reva show though. This should be the Obi-Wan show. So if you're gonna do a heel turn or anything like that, like make sure the writing's there. But I'm here for it.
Yeah. I'm loving it. We'll be back for episode 3. We'll talk to you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our after show. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. If you have not, make sure you're already checking out Ant's Star Trek discussions. It's on me. I did not post the last one because my weekend's been crazy.
Well, that last one is about Picard. I've slept on that for the last 2 weeks because Picard season. Well, you should watch it. Picard season 2. All right.
Yeah, it's coming. We got Under the Banner of Heaven with me and Lucas. The Man That Fell to Earth with me and Lucas. Got The Baby on HBO Max with Lucas and Keem. So there's a lot of content coming, and as well as The Boys. We're about to cover The Boys and of course Stranger Things right now. But yeah, so we got a lot. Make sure you are pushing the post notifications button. You'll see it right after this, and we'll be back next time.
Before you end up, I got some fan comments about our Stranger Things artwork, and apparently you got the Puerto Rican looking me on the artwork.
Look,
but check out that art that Sam put together. It's on point, and we get into that Stranger Things. Sorry, I just had to throw it out there. I'm waiting to tell you about that. It's like, why you look up there looking Puerto Rican? I was like, I'm looking handsomer and everything. Look at that. That lineup's on point. I have to trim this.
Look, we haven't even shot the 7th episode review yet, but yeah, it's ready. It's ready. Oh, we're gone, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Peace.
Falling off the top